Dan Bullion. I'm at the Statue of Liberty, and you're watching Let Freedom Ring. All right, welcome to Let Freedom Ring. We are here tonight. It is Friday the 13th, so happy Friday the 13th. Very exciting holiday for horror movie fans. But I have Anthony Brogna. I have Herbie Dan Cornell. We're here. We're going to finish out the final 8 in the head-to-head matchup of Halloween versus the Friday the 13th. We got the final 8. You, the Let Freedom Ring audience, or the Let Freedom Ring universe, as some people call you, have done the first 2 rounds for us. So we're going to get right into the bracket. We're also going to each answer. It's going to be the best, whichever one wins out of the 3 of us. So it's going to be a 2-to-1 vote, and majority rules on these. Everybody that is answering the question will get a minute to answer, not go over. Got the stopwatch ready. We're not going to do a 3-hour stream tonight for those that aren't a fan of the long streams. Let me see. Anything I'm missing here? Again, first round matchup. We got number 1 Halloween versus the number 8 seed Friday 2. Then we have Friday the 13th, which was the 4 seed, versus Halloween 2018, which was the 5 seed. The final chapter, Friday the 13th, number 2 seed, going against Halloween Kills, which was the 7 seed. Halloween 2, which was the 3 seed, going against a shocker that has made it to the Elite 8, Halloween H2O, which was the 11 seed.
It's a Cinderella story.
So we're going to see where that goes. But we'll start at the top of the bracket here. And if you do want to comment, remember, for whatever reason, I don't get notifications from the personal page, just the Let Freedom Ring page and the YouTube page. So if you want to participate, join in with us. We'd love to have you. Just make sure that's where you're commenting. So first matchup we have, hold on here. All right, so we have Friday, Halloween 1978, the original Halloween versus Friday the 13th, Part 2. We'll give you a little movie poster from both of them as well. There's the original from Halloween right there in 1978. Pretty nice looking poster there. What do you guys think? That doesn't give a lot away.
Yeah, that's when posters were creative.
And the original poster from, well, I don't know if these are the original. I'm just talking on my ass right now. But this is the Friday 13th poster for Part 2. Anthony, we're going to allow you to go first. You're going to make your pick and tell us why. And we'll start the clock now.
All right. I think if anybody's ever watched anything else we've ever talked about, they know I'm going with Halloween '78. Not a fan of hillbilly sackhead Jason. I know you love him, Dan. I think he's trash.
Dan just empathizes with him.
Yeah, I've just never really been a fan of Friday the 13th Part 2. I also think it was always a little weird to me that, like, he was alive this whole time. So why was his mom killing everyone in the first one if he was truly alive the whole time and then he saw her die? So yeah, never really been too big of a fan of it. Halloween 1978, one of the original slashers after Psycho. Just iconic movie.
All right. And he gets it with 8 seconds left. Herbie, it's on you now. We got Halloween 78 versus Friday 2, and go.
Yeah, I'm usually more of the Friday the 13th crowd, but I certainly have to agree with Ant on this one that 78 is the one that started it all. It is kind of the original slasher. It is like the movie that launched 1,000 more. Friday the 13th was just a rip off of Halloween. So, and it's still, to me, like probably one of the scariest ones out of all these movies we'll talk about tonight. So I have to go with Halloween 78 as well.
All right. And he does it with 30 seconds left. And I'm going to go now, and I think it's going to be a clean sweep. I agree with both of you. I do love Friday the 13th Part 2. I am a fan of Baghead Jason. I don't
Hmm.
care what anybody says. I am a fan of that. However, the original Halloween, you don't get either franchises without that. And we did talk about it on the show yesterday with Herbie Dan, how terrifying that would have been seeing that the first time when you really had no idea Michael Myers' motives or anything at all. You knew nothing. They originally wanted to call the movie The Babysitter Killers. I'm glad they didn't because that's a horrible name.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just you don't have all these franchises without Halloween 78, and that's my pick. And it's a clean sweep. The number one seed is moving on to the semifinals. I hate to dog
Deservingly
on.
so.
Yeah, that was a tough one. As a fan of that movie, but I mean, it's really not close. I mean, what do you guys think?
What did Friday the 13th Part 2 beat? Do you know before to get into this spot?
It had a first round bye. We
Oh,
should talk
okay.
about this briefly. It beat Halloween 4, so that
Yeah, that
kind
would
of
be
was
a closer
shocking.
one.
That
Yeah,
was definitely a lot closer for me. I mean, I think Halloween 78 just kind of destroys this one, but
yeah,
that that H4 versus Friday the 13th 2 is that's close for me. I mean, I think Halloween 4 is one of the most rewatchable of all the Halloweens. It's one of those ones you just kind of can throw on at any time and I think it's a good matchup.
yeah. I've had a newer appreciation for part two since we talked about it last year, and it's more like the first, but has Jason in it.
Mhm.
Kind of what you want from the first. So I've grown to appreciate it more over time. In fact, the movie we chose for Friday the 13th night tonight was part two. And I'm like, yeah, like this does have the same mood. It's eerie. It's got a great final girl, all that stuff. But yeah, the Baghead Jason, if it just had the hockey mask a little earlier,
I,
really tipped the scales for me.
I thought it was the most realistic Jason. This guy just living in the woods. That's
Yeah.
why I'm very biased to it, and I thought the story was good. But I will admit, head to head, I might even pick Halloween 4 because Halloween 4, I think I told you guys in the chat that we have, I watch that every year, no questions
Yeah.
asked. Just this the beginning of how that movie just looks. It has the autumn fall feel to it. I know we've talked
Mhm.
about these on these streams before, but like the look of that movie is just really awesome.
Yeah, and you
And
talked
there's
about AMC putting those movies out all the time, and that was a big factor too. Like watching, Friday Part Four, and then you watch Halloween Part Four. You watch like those deeper movies in the franchise through AMC because they were cheaper to get than the originals.
Yeah, and that's what got me hooked. I was sitting in my college, I was sitting in my college dorm room, and AMC was what kind of turned me on. And then obviously, I've talked about this. The Rob Zombie one came out. Then I went to go see that, and here I am now, just hooked on these movies.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go to the second matchup again. If you are commenting and you're doing it on the personal page, stop what you're doing. Go to the Let Freedom Ring page or go to the YouTube page because I'd love to see your comments. Not saying you have to, but we'd like to have you. Next matchup here, let's actually start with the posters here. We have the original Friday the 13th.
Mm.
Obviously, this is before Jason, even though Jason comes in sort of at the end of the movie. We don't know if that's a dream. They kind of leave that up to interpretation. Obviously, he comes around eventually. Pretty cool poster. I like that a lot. And a one that makes the semis very recent, Halloween 2018. um, Really good start to this trilogy. I don't we will probably end up touching on Halloween Ends before this stream is over. But Herbie, you are up first this time,
On the
and you
clock.
have and you have 1 minute.
All right. Um, both strong movies in different ways. One is a well put together movie in Halloween 2018. Rewatchable, really has the same vibe as the original. A lot of great shots, a great, horror villain kind of relived. Um, the other is iconic in that it kind of started the whole like camps are haunted, the summertime is haunted, like don't go into the woods, that type of slasher movie. I think as a movie in itself, Friday is not amazing. If you like sit down and watch it, there's a lot of dead space in there, and some of the characters are kind of goofy. Um, but 2018, I think, is better written. It's obviously more slick because it's more recent. So I'm gonna have to give a slight edge. My wife is gonna hate it. I'm gonna give an edge to 2018. I'm gonna
Uh,
do 2018.
all right, gives it 2018. We almost had to ring the bell on him here.
I got
Uh,
my stopwatch going just in case.
I don't know if yours matches mine, but Uh, all right, I'll go next on this one. I think, and let me start the clock. I love Halloween 2018, and I thought that was really good. I don't really like some of the twists and turns in the movies. Obviously, with the psychiatrist or the doctor letting him go. I really hated that, but I really liked the movie. However, I have to go Friday the 13th on this. Just because this kicked off the franchise for the Friday the 13th movies. I know I got the Jason mask. It's before Jason, but it is a classic. I would recommend anybody watch this because it was, your first real camp counselor murder movie. And I have to say, I love the twist at the end. Even though I knew that when I first saw it, that it was going to be Mrs. Voorhees. Um, but many people don't because they just associate it with Jason. So I just think it's a classic, and I think it's very important to the overall. So I have to go Friday the 13th, and I do it with 4 seconds to spare. Anthony, this is going to be our first. We get this. You're the tiebreaker here, and you
All
got
right.
30 seconds.
I feel like the pressure's on me. And my car is moving, so I hope my service doesn't kick in and out now. Man, I kind of wanted to go one way, and now I'm like, now that I'm the tiebreaker, I'm feeling the pressure. 2018 definitely, like better put together movie. 40 years later, new spin on it, kicked off a new trilogy. Friday the 13th, it's the original. I guess if you've never seen it, then if you've never seen it before, if you just nothing about horror movies and you're just watching it, it's so mysterious as to who's killing them, what's happening, and the story's awesome. Better put together movie 2018. That's where I was gonna lean, but I think I'm gonna tie break and pick the original Friday the 13th.
He did it in 1 minute, folks. And
Nice.
Friday the 13th. I feel like this could,
I
we're talking.
came into this picking 2018 when I saw it. I really did, but yeah, it
Mm.
just the
It's so difficult because you want to go with party wants like, oh, the better movie that I like to watch all the time, but also like
100%. Like watchability,
historically,
I'm gonna watch 2018 way more than I'm
yeah.
gonna watch the original. But it's the original Friday the 13th. It's iconic.
I mean the
Yeah,
setting and yeah.
I kind of I'm with you guys. Because I'm a bigger fan of the Halloweens. I will admit that. So I'm gonna watch 2018 more. However, Friday the 13th is actually one that I pick a lot of the times on Friday the 13th to watch, just because it's the original. And let me tell you, that is a hell of a semifinal matchup coming up later.
Hmm.
That's a hell of a fight. That's a battle there. Uh, Next we got let's do the movie posters here again. And I really love this one, the final chapter 4,
Mm.
which obviously didn't become the final chapter. Corey Feldman representing in this movie, Marty McFly's father as well. Very, very iconic, very cool. That's the second movie with the Jason mask. I mean, this poster is just super cool, in my opinion. And then this is where it's going to be super hard because this quickly became one of my favorite Halloween movies very, very quickly. Um, I will start this one as I'm making my decision as I'm about to hit start here of where I'm going to go. I really love the final chapter, but I have to admit, and it went very high. It went very high in our brackets of the all-time Friday the 13th movies, and I do love this movie, but I really can't do it in the fanhood of Halloween Kills was freaking amazing. In my opinion, the best of the new trilogy. I mean, it really gave you everything you wanted. Halloween Kills was just, he killed everybody, and it was awesome. And it was awesome how he did it. Evil Must Die Tonight, again, not a big fan of that aspect of it, but I just love Halloween Kills, and I can't get enough of it, and I'm going to rewatch it over and over. So I got to go Halloween Kills. I feel bad about that for Final Chapter because you want to see that one make the semis, but I just can't do it. And Halloween Kills was the perfect movie to set up a third movie, and they freaking ruined it. But that's enough out of me with 2 seconds to go. Anthony, you're up. And let me restart the clock.
Oh, the
Oh,
ambulance is going by.
and Michael Myers might be on the loose right now. No, actually, Jason probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, the police
Oh,
blow him up. But Anthony, you are up. Go.
man, I think I was leaning one way and now I'm the other again. Part four wasn't even supposed to ever come out, right? Part three was supposed to be the original end, and then they make the final chapter. Corey Feldman, right? Star, superstar, uh, sick ending. 2018. I love 2018 at the beginning. No, sorry, not 2018. Kills, Halloween Kills. I love the how they did the recall to the original. I thought like that whole reenactment was amazing. Him breaking out of the fire, amazing scene. Probably the best scene out of every one of these movies. Uh, Definitely hate the mob mentality stuff. I wasn't a fan of them attacking him in the end, but I like him killing Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter, and it's a surprise. So I was leaning the final chapter. I'm switching. I'm going Halloween Kills.
All right. All right. Fair enough. Herbie. So Kills will move on, but I do want to know where Herbie's going because he's very vital to this because he
Yeah.
is the more Friday the 13th fan.
Yeah,
Herbie,
I'm the
you're up.
counterbalance. Yeah. It's close between the two. I think valid points about kills having, I mean, it's in the title, kills. It's got great kills. Um, it is the Michael Myers you always were afraid of as a kid, I guess, kind of like reimagined, right? Like this unstoppable force. Um, but with that being said, I think out of all the Fridays, there are two that always I enjoy. One didn't make it out of the first round with Jason Lives. I'll never forget. But
I love
part
Jason Lives.
four, I think, is the most like Jason-y movie. It's very 80s. It's got great kills. It's before they started censoring it all. Probably the best cast out of all the movies, like the most memorable people. And that's where my vote would go. But I can see kills going on. I could see. But I'll always remember part four.
Yeah. No, it's a tough one. It's we've talked about this before. Is like Halloween is probably the stronger of the two franchises.
Yeah.
There's kind of no way around that because this next matchup obviously um is going to show kind of how they have a stranglehold on it. But yeah, Halloween Kills will move on. In our next matchup though, this is a good one because we are talking a little bit of a Cinderella story here as
Mm.
Halloween H2O has made the Elite Eight. This came in ranked at number 11. Um, and it knocked off Jason Lives. And Herbie, I got to ask, like, how do you feel about
Mm.
that knocking off Jason Lives? That was very shocking to me. I almost feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
haven't watched Jason Lives, but what'd you think of
Yeah.
that?
I think I would agree with you. It probably has stronger nostalgia for us now for H2O because even I rewatched it in the last week and I was like, okay, this is better than I remember. And if I can kind of look past like the goofiness of the mask, it's enjoyable. And I would agree. Yeah, I don't think as many people have seen Jason Lives. Whenever people ask me for a recommendation, that's what I recommend. I'm like, it's the most watchable one. It's fun. It's comedic. It's got action. It's scary. It's got a good Jason design. So it's got a little bit of everything. So I was hoping it would make it to the next round, but I can see an argument for H2O like edging it out, just in terms of at that time being such a momentous movie to have that character come back after 20 years.
I'll be quite frank, like I think, and Anthony, I'll let you answer this too. I just think like Jason Lives doesn't get a lot of recognition, and I think you're right. A lot of people just haven't seen it. Because I'll be honest, I probably didn't see it till a year or two before we did the Friday the 13th bracket. I probably never saw it, and I watched all the other ones. And when I did watch that, I was like, "Wow, Jason Lives. That's the best of the zombie Jason there was." And now the rewatchability on that is very high. Like I could watch that every Friday the 13th and be happy with that one too. So yeah, I think a lot of people just haven't watched it. I don't know. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, I think like H2O star power is there, right? Like you got the return of Jamie Lee Curtis after 20 years. LL Cool J, I think just came off of Deep Blue Sea or something. Like he was pretty hot commodity. Josh Hartnett was like the heartthrob, right? Like they loaded this movie up. Like you don't get that in slashers usually, um, and they really loaded it up. So, oh, sorry. Um, yeah, so it's like I could see why people would pick it, but I mean, Jason Lives is the first Jason, like zombie Jason, and it just deserves love. Like I don't think people think of Jason outside of being a zombie. Like pop culture wise, people think of
No.
Jason as a zombie. No one thinks about him before Jason Lives. Um, so although like me personally, I'm probably gonna watch H2O just because I'm a Halloween guy and that came out when I was 13, so it like it sits with me. Um, but from like a movie standpoint, it's tough because I think Jason Lives is such a pivotal one in the series. It's more important to the series than H2O is to the Halloween series.
Yeah. Yeah. And Halloween H2O, I mean, it's a reboot essentially, right? From all the other sequels. They're just like they do in Halloween a lot. They're like, okay, everything with Jamie never happened. Forget 4, forget 5, forget Curse. It's from the second one to H2O, and that's where we're going.
Yep.
So they've rebooted a lot,
Well, you
and
know what?
Jason
And I
really
think
hasn't
I
done
think
that.
if I think if Resurrection never comes out, the ending for H2O is one of the best endings out of all the Halloween movies. If there's no,
Absolutely.
if that's how he gets killed, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it always comes down to the money, right? I mean, I get it.
Mhm.
But again, so it's gonna be so here we are, still first round match, not first round. I'm sorry, Elite Eight matchup. Quarterfinals here. We got Halloween H2O, and then here's the movie poster for again a lot of people's favorites. This came in at a 3 seed. Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, 1981. Really terrifying movie. Really continues the story of the same night as the original Halloween. Anthony, you have 1 minute. You're up first.
All right. We'll make it quick because I know I'm going to drop service in a second. Yeah, as much as H2O has all the nostalgia, like I said, I loved it as a teenager. It's definitely rewatchable, probably even more for me because of that nostalgia. But H2 is just it's the scariest one in the franchise. The hospital is scary. Jamie Lee Curtis trying to pick up the keys under the car and he's in pursuit is like heart pounding. And we get an ending. I love that it takes place, immediately after the first one ends. I love when they do that with movies. So I gotta go. I gotta go the original Halloween too.
All right. He gets that in 47 seconds. Herbie, because I know where I'm going. So I'm very curious what you say here.
Yeah.
And you're up.
Yeah, if I influence you or not. I think H2O, just like Ant was talking about, I remember being, my young teens and thinking like, wow, this looks like probably the scariest movie ever made. And having seen the original movie and being afraid of that, I was like, oh, this is like my generation's movie. Did it live up to that? Kind of, yeah, I would say a little bit, but it's definitely aged okay over the years. Having rewatched Halloween 2, though, I would certainly agree with Ant. Very scary. I think Dick Warlock as Michael Myers, even though the mask looks totally different because it's like different head shape and stuff, it's scary in its own way. We can see like more of the eyes and such. So I'm gonna give it to Halloween 2.
All right, with 6 seconds to spare. So Halloween 2 is moving on, but I am gonna briefly go just explain where I was gonna go.
Chris Herbie service.
I love Halloween
Dennis
2.
had
I
to watch that
do.
SmackDown tonight.
Uh, who is? Oh, um, I do. I didn't go see Halloween H2O in the theaters as I wasn't really into horror, but I remember it coming out. I have to say this for rewatching every year. I usually watch Halloween H2O, and I'm
Mm,
okay with missing Halloween 2. So I would. The Cinderella story is over.
mm,
Halloween H2O is not going to the final four. However, I have to say it is it's a very rewatchable movie. And it's
mhm,
it's definitely, one that I really enjoy. And yeah, a shame to see it go, but that's the way this thing goes. Not fair all the time. So
mm-mm.
we'll stop there. And we're going to semifinals. I think we may have lost Anthony for a minute. We'll try to get him back. Herbie, so your final four right now, you have Halloween versus Friday the 13th. You got
Mm,
Halloween Kills going up against Halloween 2. Oh, we did lose him. So hopefully we get Anthony back. For those watching at home, he did have a commitment tonight that he had to be at, and so we totally understand and no big deal. But yeah, anything shocking that you've noticed in this tournament with the audience, Herbie, and what we've been picking so far? Anything surprising to you?
Well, I'm glad that certain movies, real Cinderellas didn't make it, like Jason Goes to Hell, Halloween Resurrection, Halloween Part 6. Some of those are like, okay, I'm glad those, I feel more confident that those are not good overall. I was hoping for a little bit of a sleeper play from um, Friday 13th Part 5, which I've been kind of rewatching more through like a different lens. And just if you take it more as kind of hokey and campy, it's better, I think. And if you get past the fact that it's not Jason, spoiler alerts, um, then it's a better movie than people give it up to be. So some of those are the observations I made in the early phases here.
Yeah, I gotta say, is watching the brackets, I guess I had it a little closer to my heart here as I followed it. I was shocked that Halloween Ends even got. I'm surprised Halloween Ends got past Friday 3.
Mm,
But again, then I look at Friday 3 and I go, I guess it's really not that entertaining if you get past the fact that it's the first time that Jason gets the hockey mask.
yeah. I
Other
have
than
a
that,
special fondness for it just because of that fact, and I remember it being the first Jason I saw, so that was kind of my like early memory of him. So I think I give it more nostalgia points than it's worth. All those 3D gimmicks and stuff really detract from it nowadays. But yeah, I'm one of the few people who liked Halloween Ends for other reasons than it being, if I walked into it wanting a Michael Myers movie, I was sorely disappointed. But I appreciated at least trying something different, like they did with Halloween 3. And I think like people will probably feel that way soon. But yeah, overall, like that was an interesting matchup for sure.
yeah, I mean, honestly, and I did a review last year on Halloween Kills, and really my issue was you were doing a trilogy, you weren't doing a one-off.
Mm,
And as a one-off movie, it would have been fine, but I
yeah.
just thought the story was so good coming out of Halloween Kills that you just totally like redid the script, and we got
Mm.
Anthony back here.
I'm back. Let me in.
You're in. Yeah, I mean Halloween. That was the biggest issue with Halloween Kills is that you had a good story going. You had two really
Mhm.
good movies to start, and then you just changed the story. Did a lot of things that didn't
Yeah.
make sense. I think you're right though. Looking back on it, it's not a movie that I can't say that I would never rewatch because that's a
Yeah.
lie. I just not the movie that I wanted for that series of movies because it just was stupid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
that's a good point. If it was like the fourth one, they're like, okay, the trilogy ended and this was a, epilogue, right? People would probably be pumped. They'd be like, oh, okay, cool. It's like a different idea, kind of same universe. Maybe they're doing a season of the witch type thing for it. But yeah, I can see more disappointment being generated because you come off of such a strong, like full force movie and kills, and then you go to ends and it's a totally different vibe, totally different vibe. Um,
yeah,
which
it
I just
it
found fascinating and interesting. But yeah, as a bookend, yeah, it stings.
it got like the new Star Wars movie treatments for me too. Like we're
Mm,
going down a road, toss it out. Here's the story, toss it out. And the cohesiveness just went out the window. Um, I can say Anthony messaged me the night the movie came out and was like, "You're not going to believe what they did," and I had to watch it immediately. We were just saying, Anthony, we were surprised that Halloween Kills did knock off Friday 3 in the first round, just because there's such contempt for Halloween ends.
mm,
Um, does that shock you at all? I guess there's not a lot to Friday 3 that is memorable, and besides getting the mask.
Well, he
mm.
gets the mask. I think that's it, right? But yeah, it's just kind of campy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Kills is just really until like the real mob mentality stuff starts kicking in, and
Well,
after.
what do you think of ends beating Friday 3 though?
Oh, is that would beat Friday 3?
Yeah, that beat Friday 3
Oh
ends,
yeah, no,
which
yeah, no chance. That's crazy.
yeah,
I thought we were
I
talking about
was
kills. Oh yeah,
no,
no way.
no, I get them confused too because they just have the one name, but yeah, ends just
There's
wasn't
no.
cohesive.
I don't think there is any redeeming qualities in Halloween ends.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just it just didn't make sense. Not the movie I wanted, not in that series of movies, but um all right, we'll go into the final round here. I know everybody's got places to be and stuff. Um we're gonna go here. This is the matchup probably a lot of people want to see. It's Halloween, the original, straight up against Friday the 13th, the original, straight up here. Um Herbie, hold on here. I got all my things messed up. Let me just get situated. And
Mm.
all right, so Halloween 78, Friday 13th, 1980. Herbie, I'm gonna have you start this.
Hmm. I obviously lean heavy towards Friday the 13th franchise stuff. I've even been to the filming location of the original Friday the 13th, which, by the way, is awesome and cool, and you should definitely go do. And it's only in Jersey, so even that itself is scary, right? To go to Jersey, but as a better movie, as probably the best movie overall, right? Best writing, score, acting, concept. Halloween 78 is the one for me. Um, they're both very important, but I think 78 does take the edge. It's John Carpenter's best, and the one of the best horror movies of all time, easily.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it 78.
All right. I'll go next on this because I think I know where this is going. Let me reset this. Bar none, I get very excited for the month of October every single year. Wanted to do this show just because it's the first time in a long time that I can remember Friday the 13th falling in October, which is why I wanted to go head to head. But when you go head to head, franchise for franchise, Halloween is much better in my opinion than Friday the 13th. And when it comes down to the original movies, Halloween is better of a horror movie end of the day than that Friday the 13th. And that doesn't take anything away from Friday the 13th. the original. It's just that's how good 78 Halloween was. Because Friday the 13th can beat a lot of the Halloween movies straight up, but not a chance that it can beat what I think is maybe the best slasher film of all time. And I've come around on that because I used to be a Rob Zombie version was better. And Anthony can attest to that. And I don't stand by that as much as I did then. But I'm going Halloween 78. Anthony, you're up.
I appreciate you swaying a little bit away from that zombie movie. That goes a long way with me. Yeah, I think we all know this. Like it's the king of slasher movies. I mean, um, what I will say from an influential perspective, um, oh, did I just lose you guys? All right, sorry. I just want to make sure I'm not
We can
cutting in
hear
and out.
you.
Can
We
you
can
guys
hear
hear me?
you.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, what I was just gonna say is Friday the 13th, the original, spawned a lot more copycat movies. Um, but 78 is it's the end all be all. It's truly it's a masterpiece and has the most famous, theme music ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a clean sweep. I think we all kind of knew.
Yeah.
We did get our first Facebook comment, but it looks like it's spam. So we're not
Oh
even going
no.
to address that. Obviously, in the world of the internet, um, anybody can follow this page and anybody can comment. It's in another language. I'm not going to put it up. Too many things going on in the world right now. We're not going to get involved in that. So looks like Halloween 78 is going on to the finals. Again, I think a lot of people could have called this. It came in at the number one seed, and it's making a run here. It's going to bring us into a very interesting matchup here. A very interesting matchup in the final four here. Again, we got Halloween 2, which I did not. I had H2O going over. Again, love this movie, but I can't say that I rewatch it every single year. And it's going up against Halloween Kills of 2021.
Mm.
Movie coming in strong, references to a lot of the other ones, even gives some daps, or how do I want to say this? There is a Seasons of the Witch reference, even if it's just masks, which was super cool too from Halloween Kills. Um, all right, I think it's my turn to start here.
Mhm.
So Halloween Kills, Halloween 2. I'm up. Got a minute to go. Again, I think a lot of people know where I'm going to fall on this. I do love Halloween 2, but it's just not as entertaining as Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills is just a very I get the evil must die thing is annoying, but it wasn't enough to ruin it. I don't love the hospital scene, but I do think Halloween 2 does drag on a little too long at times in the hospital. And sometimes when I do watch that movie as good as it is, I there's times where I want to speed up a little bit. I don't really feel like that as much with Kills. Kills just gives you action packed from the start to the finish and was a great movie that would have led to an awesome third movie, and they didn't want to do it. But regardless, I got 10 seconds and I'm going with Halloween Kills. And if I have the order right, I think it's Anthony. Like I've been like zigzagging here.
Mhm.
All
All
right,
right.
Anthony, you got 1 minute.
I'm glad I don't have to be a tiebreaker on this one because I think it's a little tough. I was saying earlier when we talked about kills, the reenactment of what happens after part one with the new vision, the killing all the firefighters scene. I mean, action packed, breaking into people's house. I mean, just the kills he's doing is just so phenomenal. But Evil Must Die Tonight really kills me. It really hurts the watchability for me. Like I said, I think the first half, I was saying this earlier, I think the first half is a masterpiece, and then I think the second half is a piece of shit. So it's like two different kind of pieces. Um, I just the whole town killing him and then him getting his superpowers and slaughtering everyone. Just I don't know, it just bothered me. Um, Part two, it's the scariest. It's the hospital's cold and scary. Whatever filters they're using, the kills are next level. He's killing people at a higher level, crazier kills than the first one that had no blood in it. I got to go H2.
All right. Okay. And that's a very good defense of the movie. All
Mm.
right, Herbie. This is going to be a tough one
It's
for you.
tough.
You're
I'm
the
doing a lot of
tiebreaker here.
tiebreakers here tonight.
Uh,
Let me put my stopwatch on for a
oh,
minute.
hold on. I didn't hit reset.
Oh,
Just give
yeah,
me the
hit
nod
reset.
just give me the nod when you're ready.
All
All
right,
right,
I'm
this
ready.
clock's on.
The defense. I would agree with Ant. Definitely seeing the movie in, I believe it was at home actually, for kills. Like the first part, you're like, wow, this thing is just going for it. It's going wild. It's going crazy. And then you get to the hospital scenes and kills, and you're like, okay, this is kind of, I feel like they just don't know what they're doing right now. And it kind of soured the experience for me overall. It got a little too goofy and was trying to be deep in a weird way. And I don't know. It's just a slasher movie, just have fun with it. That's why I like two. Two for me. Yeah, it's got the spooky hospital stuff. Like Ant said, the kills are elevated. He moves in a more scary way than the first movie, so it's almost like he's kind of ascended, in the same night here. So I'm gonna have to go with H2.
All right, Halloween 2. Okay, so
We just compared two movies where Jamie Lee Curtis is in the hospital in both those movies,
Yeah,
but
they're
but you
very
felt
different.
you felt the danger of her
Yes.
being in H2, but it was like I don't know. She was such a pivotal role in 2018, and then they kept her in the hospital for kills the whole time. It just didn't, yeah, it didn't do it for me. I think they could have did more with her.
that's a fair point. That's a fair point to that. They did leave her in the hospital, and again, there could have been more to it. I just really do enjoy that movie. I think I also like the look of the movie a lot, which sometimes creates a bias with me if
Mm.
I just visually enjoy it more. And I definitely visually enjoy kills more than Halloween 2. But I feel like now I'm coming off as a Halloween 2 hater because I don't think I've said all
Well,
that much,
like, and Herbie made a good point, and one of my gripes with the movie, and then even more so, it ends was just like kind of the political backdrop that they were going through during that time, like the mob mentality stuff, and came out during COVID, and like, I wonder what we would have got for a movie if the world hadn't stopped during that time frame.
Mm.
Because I feel like that influenced what that movie became, and it could have been something different off of 2018.
Yeah, yeah, and having more time to like do the movie too, because I think they ended up delaying it
Mm-hmm.
because of COVID, and then they probably did some rewrites and like, oh, maybe we should like infuse this message in there. So it felt really cobbled together in that way. The first part was obviously very cogent and just like, okay, they had a vision for the first 35 minutes here.
Oh yeah, I mean
But
you get CGI Loomis, and I'm like, this movie's gonna be the goat, and
yeah, yeah,
and I
like the mask shape and stuff, and they're like, wow, they really like put some time into this part.
yeah, and then it just felt like it went off the rails and just completely went, total
Yeah.
different direction.
Yeah, two has more consistency, I think. The movie is consistent. There isn't like yeah, Dan's right. There's like it runs a little long in some spots, but I think it creates more tension. And that's just how movies were back then. They weren't as quick as they are now.
I,
Well, I think a lot of the comparing that we do, we talk about like rewatchability, right? And I do I believe Kills probably has more rewatchability because you can just throw it on. That opening scene is badass, but we also get to find out that Laurie Strode is Michael's sister in H2, right? Like everyone always just assumes like they knew that, but we don't find that out in part one. Like everyone, it's like it's a big piece of the story in that part of the franchise, right? And that timeline. And we overlook it. And like, you watch part one, and part one, the original, there's no reference, right? We don't find out till H2. I think that's a big part of the franchise is finding that out.
Yeah, because I watched this thing the other day. They, they never, there was no plan to do a second one when they wrote the original one. And it was never in the original plan that that was his sister. And I guess they decided we need to make something interesting, more interesting in this movie. And that is a huge reveal. Um, and they didn't really know what else to do but keep it on the same night. I think that's something that I've always had an issue with too, even though I guess I'm backing Kills, which did the same thing. It stayed on the same night. I think that was just something I don't know. They're both great movies, and I'd be lying to say I don't rewatch them. It's just yeah, Halloween 2 just seems a little it gets long for me. And I hated how you didn't get the mask right from a movie that was just a few years later, you know?
Well, it was the original mask too. Like that's the problem is they didn't recreate the mask. They just took a mask, the same mask that was under I think Deborah Hill's bed,
Yeah.
and she
And
was
put it
like,
on a guy's head who is twice the size of
yeah, it's like
the
Yeah.
they
original
completely
actor.
changed the whole form of the mask completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is just kind of like, the mask wouldn't change that fast. But I will make one other point because someone just said it does feel like movies today. I don't know if you guys saw the last Scream either,
Mm.
where they start off strong and then go off a cliff. Because I gotta say, the last Scream, and I don't know if anybody's seen it, so I'm not gonna say spoilers. But it started off so strong, like this is gonna be something different, and just the last act just. And I still like it, but it tanked the movie because you're like, when it starts off like this, your expectations get so high and you want it to be great, and then it just nosedived. Um, I do want to say one other thing too about Kills was I was hoping that if he did have powers or something, we would start to have a better understanding of that in the third one as well as to how we could do all these things. And again, they didn't deliver that either. So it's rough. But all right, we'll move on. We're gonna go to the finals. If you're watching at home, you'd like to comment, you can do that on the Let Freedom Ring page or YouTube. And if you're any spam people, please keep it off here. We don't want anything to do with that. But the finals here, we have Halloween 78 versus Halloween 281. This really speaks to the Halloween franchise, at least for us. I'm sure there's people that would disagree, but it's just blown out all the Friday the 13th. The two original Halloweens have done so. I'm going to give everybody up to 2 minutes to answer this time. I believe Herbie has not started in a while. Have you started, Herbie? I don't think you have.
I don't believe so. Yeah.
All right. I will start with you. You have 2 minutes.
I think it'll be pretty evident that from our previous conversations that I'm going to choose 78 just right off the bat. And I'll tell you why. 78 is the original. I think it has the best pacing where it keeps you locked in the whole time. It's not too long. Doesn't feel too long-winded like part 2. Because part 2 was, like you said, kind of cobbled together, wasn't planned. They didn't even bother making a new mask or like just get it out of that dusty old storage under the bed, and it's all nicotine stained from chain smoking over the years. Don't even care if like you can see the eyes, whatever. Um, but there's some sort of like simplicity and purity for the original Halloween that makes it so good. It doesn't try to do this crazy backstory or have like any particular motivation. It's just like a force of evil on the scariest night of the year. What would happen? And that's why I would choose it over two. Yeah, better kills, more creative kills, some scarier stuff in there, but man, it just can't compare. I don't know. It feels like Duke playing, like a Division 3 team right now. Like even though 2 made it all the way here, it's still like it's big dog. You can't take down the big dog. So go in the original.
All right. I'll go next. I'm going to let Anthony send us off. I'm going to go, obviously, with 78 too. I've already kind of not picked. Did I say 72? Yeah, I'm going to go with 1978 2, not Halloween 2. As I've said, I did have, for rewatchability for me, I already had H2O going over Halloween 2. I had Halloween Kills going over Halloween 2. Again, I love the movie, I do, but it just gets long-winded and a little boring for me overall. That's like comparing. I'm not saying it's not something I don't enjoy, but it does, and I wish that there was just more to it. I do like when they I mean, this is kind of sick in a way, but they intentionally they accidentally kill that kid who was wearing his mask and it wasn't him, and that's the scene that I always like remember from that
Talking
movie.
about Ben Tramer.
Yeah, I've actually
Poor
made a
Ben
post one
Tramer.
time. I said never forget, on Facebook before, um, but yeah, like, and again, how the original Halloween, I've come around. Like, I always loved that movie, but I really come around to understand like how much I really do think that is the best movie. And we talked about it on the show yesterday, and I keep bringing it up because it just kind of like crossed my head. I was like, imagine seeing that movie in 1978 without knowing anything about it and just not there's no, the Myers mask isn't iconic at that point. You don't know the backstory before you see it. That movie is terrifying without knowing any of that stuff, right? He's just like I said, they almost call it the babysitter killers. Thank God they did not, because it's not the icon that it is with that name. But yes, Halloween 78 for me. And that's enough out of me. Anthony, you're up.
Yeah, I think we all knew coming into this what like that it would end up here. I don't know if everyone thought H2 would end up here. I'm happy it did though. Like we've talked about a little bit, just the difference in kills. Halloween 78 is so unique because there's no blood in it at all. And they really decided, a couple years later to turn up Jason a lot, and I mean, sorry, turn up Michael a lot. Maybe it's because of the two Jason movies that came out, right? So you have, I'm pretty sure Friday 13th Part 2 came out before H2 or right around the same time. And the kills were definitely elevated in Friday the 13th, right? Like we got like poor Kevin Bacon, huh? um, so
Oh yeah, they
like
came out the same year. I just don't know the months.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the reason why I bring that up is because now we're getting, we get a different version of Michael Myers as far as like sadistic kills. Like they kind of turned it up a level, and that's what I really enjoy about H2 was turning it up a little bit of a level, and it's not, and like I said, whatever filter they're using, whatever that like. Man, an empty hospital is a scary place. I think it's the scariest setting out of all the movies. Definitely like more heart racing moments, like better quality kills. But we know 78 is just it's so iconic. And Dan, I like your approach. I like looking at it as imagine we don't know anything about these movies and we're seeing it for the first time. I mean, I have a special relationship with my dad over this movie. He introduced it to me when, probably at too young of an age. But, I mean, it's the reason why I have Michael Myers tattooed on me was because of this movie and the relationship that, like, I got to build with my dad off of our fandom of Michael Myers. And he would tell me, he was, 10 years old when it came out. And he remembers seeing it, the commercial on TV the night he came home and how scary it was. So I can only imagine. And like you said, did they even know it was a Shatner mask when it happened? Probably not. It was just imagine seeing that blank face, like darkest eyes, and it's just the first time you ever see it. I can only imagine what it was like. And in comparison, the only other slasher before that was Psycho, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, man, imagine how like it must have been mind blowing. Kind of like not have nothing to do with this, but like watching The Exorcist for the first time, something that's so off the wall, so different than what's out there. It's 78. It's just it set it off. It's the reason why we're even having this conversation in the first place, and why the genre even went where it went. It's because of that movie and the best theme song. It's just the best theme song.
Yeah, it is like the perfect horror movie, and I'd love to, if we would have thrown in Nightmare into this bracket, like the three franchises, I don't think anything in Nightmare besides the first one would, or maybe the third, would even make a run at any of the Halloween movies. If you look, like, for the most part, straight up. So I mean, yeah, it's just, I don't think you can top Halloween. I just don't think you can. And
But
Friday the
where
13th,
do you feel like this bracket goes if we did the voting from the beginning? You know, I feel like Lives gets further, right?
I think Lives would have. Eh, where was that?
It'd probably be Halloween 78 versus Jason X in the
Yeah,
end.
I think I think the fans did do a good job. I mean, Halloween H2O obviously made a bigger run. I didn't think Halloween Ends would get anywhere. Um, I mean, we had a matchup like Jason Goes to Hell versus Curse. That's like, well, however, what kind of way do you want to be tortured that night is how you pick that film.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I would have liked to have seen H4 and Lives make it another round. I think.
Yes.
I think I would have liked to see those get down to our elite eight, and something that we didn't do at all, which would have made a big run for me, would have been if we had Freddy versus Jason, Jason versus Freddy, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta say, I want to do one stream where I do want to rank or something with the nightmares.
Mm.
And honestly, with the nightmare movies, it's really gonna come down to. I mean, we can tell you straight up right now, it's gonna be one and Dream Warriors as the top. But the real interesting thing is, how do you break down the rest of the Nightmare franchise?
New
Because a lot
Nightmare
of,
is a sleeper.
oh,
Yeah.
actually, I'm sorry, that's up there too.
It's a really
And
big sleeper.
yeah, and
But
Nancy,
the
it's
That
remake was
first, like,
terrible.
yeah.
Remake was terrible. But so speaking of remakes, what did Friday the 13th remake go against?
that
Mm.
went against Halloween Resurrection, which it did beat, and then it lost to Halloween.
Mm.
It was a slaughter against Kills.
Okay, I mean it makes
Yeah.
sense that it lost to Kills, but I was a big fan of the remake. I think we start talking about great opening scenes. That's one of the best opening scenes in out of all these movies that we're talking about.
It's the best looking female of any scene in any movie as well.
Yeah.
I was
Really
I
went for that part.
I sent you that earlier, that there was a break because there's this one page that I follow. They were releasing how that movie was made. I disagree with a lot of people on the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I actually don't hate it as much as people do. There is some. I think people didn't. They went there with what's. We kind of know that Freddy is probably more than just a child murderer, right?
Mm.
He's something probably a little bit worse, and they went there in that movie, which took guts. But but I actually liked that Freddy. I did. I guess I'm
I,
not the. He
I
was
just think
creepy.
it's not like these other movies where you could put somebody different under a mask and it still feels the same. Like the fact that like Robert Englund is just he's too
That's the guy, yeah.
iconic to what it is. Like Freddy is him, you know, it's like it's not a mask. It's an actual, person with features. So that's what killed it for me right off the bat was I felt like I couldn't accept anybody else playing that
Mm.
character. Whereas it doesn't matter. I mean, I get it. Kane Hodder's phenomenal, right? But like, you could put a lot of different guys under that mask, and it's still like you're gonna enjoy the movie.
Kane
Yeah.
Hodder also gets too much credit for being Jason. He did not come in until the seventh movie, and it's kind of like I'm kind of getting sick of it that he gets to ride off with being Jason when he is in one of the worst movies that they ever made, and was in the part of like where the series was dead. And
Mm.
it's like, yeah, that's the guy that we think of as Jason. I
I mean,
don't.
was it dead? Like financially, we
Maybe
don't
not.
like.
I don't know, Herbie. Herbie? I'd like to know your take on that. Like, as the big Friday the 13th fan, like,
Yeah.
why does Ken Hodder get all this credit that he just? That's like me joining a winning team and not really like
Yeah.
later. Like like someone on the Patriots now being known as like Mr. Patriot when they suck.
Right. Like if yeah, like Randy Moss coming in. But then again, now I see kind of Randy Moss as a Patriot. I used to always see him
Yeah.
as a Viking, but yeah. I think with Hodder, people always talk about he like played it with this like rage and this intensity, which you could definitely see when you watch those like 7, 8, a little bit of 9. So I think he gets that kind of respect of like, yeah, the movies were bad, but at least this guy really went for it, and I think fans appreciate that. And being like a stunt man, he did all the stunts, he did all that stuff. He's kind of the right
Punches dude's head off.
size. What's that? Yeah,
They
punch a guy's head off.
punch the guy's
Yeah,
head right off his shoulders. Like,
yeah. So he
kicks
had
the
a lot of like
boombox.
input in that. Yeah, he had input in like, yeah, here's a stunt I could do. Like I could fall through here and do this. So I think people like appreciate that. But the guy CJ, I always forget his last name. The guy who played in part 6, I always think is there's an intensity there as well in the way he moves, and
Oh, absolutely.
that's always one of my better ones. Ironically, the one I probably like the least in the way he moves is part 4, even though it's one of my favorite Fridays, because it was like an older guy. He was like in his 50s, late 60s. He was like a Hollywood Old West stunt double, and he just moves like an old man. Like he kind of like swings his arms. When you rewatch it, just think about a 60-year-old man behind the mask. You go, okay, it definitely looks like it.
Yeah, I that's just always something like if Kane Hodder was in Manchester, New Hampshire, doing meet and greets, I'm not even sure I would drive over to even like, you know what I mean? Like he's just not. I don't know. Maybe I'm lying. I definitely would, but I'm just saying like I just don't get why he gets so much credit. Is he for being, I guess because of that stuff.
Yeah.
He's not in any of the movies that I love about Friday the 13th. So
Yeah.
sorry,
I just feel
Kane
like,
Hodder.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I would have to look it up, from a financial perspective. But like pop culture wise, like I feel like that's when Jason was at his height in pop culture, right? Like Zombie Jason, Jason Takes Manhattan. Like they're not great,
Yeah.
but like it was like he's a big pop culture figure at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I went on Arsenio Hall. Like there's a bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah,
cool
and he was
stuff.
the one that went on Arsenio, right? Dressed up
Yeah.
as him.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, he
Kane
had to
Hodder.
have been. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I think it's the pop culture aspect of he was there when like Jason was at its most popular.
Yeah.
Then
The
that's a
character, at
fair
least. Yeah.
assessment. He
Mhm.
Yeah.
because you're into the 80s now, and that's a big which I get that.
Yeah.
It's always been bizarre to me just because that's not what
Yeah. I think,
and there's no one like Myers going around to conventions, but
right.
or there is, but like you don't even think of them.
So the other thing that is kind of glaringly obvious is there's a lot of bad movies out of a lot of these that we talked about in general.
I'd say 3/4 of them are definitely bad, at
what
least.
what's the worst one?
Out
Oh,
of
that's
all of
what
them,
yeah, race to the bottom.
and and why is it Jason Goes to Hell?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Jason Goes to Hell is definitely probably the
It's got to
worst.
be the worst one because you don't have Jason and you have like
Yeah, at
demon
least
worms
with
jumping into people's mouths.
Resurrection and like part 6, it's Michael Myers. You know what I mean? Even I
Yeah.
can't even say that about Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah,
And
but
it looks
Jason
like a
goes.
Lifetime movie too. The way it was shot, so cheap, and oh
Well,
man,
that
so
was
many
who
issues.
bought this? Who bought it was New Line that just
I think
bought
it
it,
was New
or
Line, yeah, and they wanted to do it for as cheap as possible, and it's
the
very
Yeah.
evident.
And then
the only
they tease the Freddy part, and then we don't get it for 10 years after.
Yeah,
no. No, and honestly, that's when I watched Jason Goes to Hell. Now, obviously, when it came out in '93, I wasn't watching. I could only imagine waiting for the Freddy vs. Jason from '93 to 2003. But the only thing that is redeemable about that movie is the Freddy glove grabbing the mask.
yeah,
But I have to say, Curse of Michael
and that's a
Myers is
killer
really fucking
poster
good.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a waste of a good poster. I remember seeing that poster and being like, "Wow, that must be the scariest Friday the 13th." And then actually watching it with my brother, I was like, "Man, this sucks. This
Dude,
sucks
in the
bad."
opening scene, so I remember being really young,
Hmm.
like I shouldn't have been watching it. And I'm pretty sure like when it came out on VHS, like I watched it at a very young age, not understanding it. And
Hmm.
that opening scene is just it's really badass though. Like again, you talk
That's
about
good.
like
Yeah.
high intensity opening scenes, and it's like what you would imagine, like, yeah, we're gonna trap this guy, like we're gonna send him into a trap, and then like the FBI is gonna catch him. But it's like, and then they blow him up, and we get everything else that happens after it. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, like you guys had a great opportunity here. Like this is what you guys thought of.
And a waste of a good character design too, like the mask being like sunken in the face and it's like all grown over, and he's just been doing his thing for however long, we don't
Yeah, I would have
know,
loved to see that. 'Cause I think
decades.
that was right after he gets like all the sewage and stuff in
Yeah.
yeah,
Soupy
right.
Jason.
Yeah. Super Jason. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know what goes into making these movies, right? Well, I can watch things on YouTube, but how to do it. I think the FBI scene would have been so much cooler at the end of the movie
Mm.
instead of having Jason
Yeah,
jumping from body
luring
to
him
body.
in. Yeah,
They'd be. How cool would the movie been if like this FBI agent is tracking down Jason Voorhees, right? And he's
Mm.
trying to find him, and then you end the movie with them finally finding him. Maybe he blows them up, and then the Freddy glove grabs the mask, pulls what's left to hell.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we'll have.
Instead of the magical dagger,
Yeah,
we like again like we just made up a random
Mhm.
backstory, or like it's like where did this where'd the idea of a magical dagger come from?
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll have more to talk about though, because supposedly there's going to be a Camp Crystal Lake miniseries,
I saw
um,
that. I
produced
think
by
I think
A24.
Paramount was trying to buy Halloween's rights too to do.
Yeah, I think
I don't think
Miramax
it's
ended
Michael
up
Myers. I think
buying
it's
it.
gonna do like anthology stuff, maybe.
That's what they've been conversing about. Yeah, to try to probably get more money, with a longer series. So I'm curious at what the Crystal Lake will be, because that's supposed to be like a prequel. So yeah, I'm curious if that will be like an anthology
Well,
or
because the mom went on two killing sprees, right? She goes on a killing spree right
yeah,
after she
there's
drowns, and then she goes on the killing spree in 79 or 80 or whatever it is.
yeah, like there's like a mysterious fire, right, that happens at the camp, and maybe the water itself is cursed. I'm not sure. Like it'll be interesting to see how they go with it.
Well, we'll take a look at that. I'm gonna wrap up the stream though, and we can talk off air in a second. But thanks for everybody tuning in. This has been a blast. Again, the champion is Halloween 1978. Number one seed takes it.
Hmm.
I appreciate everybody that voted. We're going to try to do more interaction with the Let Freedom Ring page, so keep an eye on that. And everybody out there, have a great rest of your Friday the 13th. And until next time, Let Freedom Ring.